I'll just say one thing, get ready for what's coming, because Colombia is far more surprising and way crazier than you might think. And by the time we get to the final facts, you'll understand exactly what I mean. 50. The lost city older than Machu Picchu. Deep within Colombia's Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta lies Tayuna, commonly known as the Lost City. Built around 800 CE, centuries before Machu Picchu, its terraces climb the mountainside like giant steps reclaimed by the jungle. Archaeologists estimate that nearly 8,000 people once lived in the city, connected by advanced cobblestone paths and drainage systems that still function today. Getting there is no small feat. Travelers must hike through more than 40 miles of humid rainforest, cross powerful rivers, and ascend 1,200 steep stone steps. The trek itself keeps the site protected from mass tourism, making it one of the most mysterious and best preserved pre-Columbian cities in the world. 49. A snow-capped mountain by the sea, the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta holds a geographical record. It's the highest coastal mountain range in the world. Its snow peaks rise to more than 18,700 feet while being only 26 miles from the Caribbean Sea. From certain vantage points near the beaches of Tayrona National Park, you can literally see white sand, turquoise water, and glaciated peaks in the same panoramic view. The contrast looks unreal, like two different planets stitched together. Scientists also consider it one of the world's most irreplaceable ecosystems, home to jaguars, condors, and ancient indigenous cultures who still protect the mountains today. 48. The rainbow river that changes color. Caño Cristales is often called the River of Five Colors, or even the most beautiful river in the world. Beneath its crystal clear water, aquatic plants turn vivid shades of red, yellow, purple, and green during certain months of the year. No chemicals, no minerals, and no tricks. The color change is entirely natural. Unlike most rivers, it has almost no sediment, so every ripple and rock is completely visible. This river flows through the Serranía de la Macarena, a region once inaccessible due to conflict, adding mystery to its reputation. Today, it's a flagship symbol of Colombia's transformation. 47. A city that never sleeps because it barely gets dark. Medellin sits near the equator, which means sunrise and sunset happen almost at the same time every day, around 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. The shift between summer and winter light barely exists. The city feels like nature pressed pause. Visitors often stumble into this fact by accident. Jet lag is easier, nightlife feels endless, and outdoor activities are always possible. Combine that with Medellin's famously stable, eternal spring climate, and you can understand why it has become one of Latin America's fastest growing urban hubs. 46. Bogota, one of the world's highest capitals. Colombia's capital sits at a staggering 8,660 feet above sea level, second only to La Paz in Bolivia, among the world's highest national capitals. First-time visitors often feel breathless, not because of the view, but because their bodies are adjusting to the altitude. The city sprawls across a vast plateau surrounded by mountains, including the famous Monserrate Peak, which towers another 500 meters above downtown. Bogota's altitude gives it cool temperatures year-round, misty mornings, and astonishing nighttime panoramas of city lights spilling across the high plateau. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe and leave a like to become an expert on the geography of our world. 45. A volcano that hides a dreamlike lagoon. Nevado del Ruiz isn't just a volcano, it's also home to a crater lake known as La Laguna del Otun, fed by glacial meltwater. This icy turquoise lagoon sits above 4,000 meters, 13,100 feet, surrounded by Paramo, a surreal moorland ecosystem found almost nowhere else on Earth. Walking here feels like stepping onto another planet. Cushiony moss, fog drifting across volcanic rocks, and silence broken only by the wind. Though Ruiz is still active and infamous for its tragic 1985 eruption, the area remains one of Colombia's most hauntingly beautiful landscapes. 44. One of the world's most biodiverse countries. By area, Colombia ranks second in global biodiversity, outmatched only by Brazil, which is 7 times larger. Compressed into a smaller space, Colombia's ecosystems are stacked like a vertical nature library. Tropical rainforests, Pacific mangroves, Caribbean deserts, alpine glaciers, coral reefs, and Amazonian jungle. The result? Colombia has more bird species than any other country, more orchids than the rest of the world combined, and over 50,000 recorded plant species. Scientists believe thousands more remain undiscovered. 43. A desert with flamingos and Caribbean water. The Guajira Peninsula is Colombia's northernmost point and home to the only true desert that borders the Caribbean Sea. Here, orange dunes spill into turquoise waves, dotted with flocks of pink flamingos. The desert is shared with the indigenous Wayuu people, whose colorful hand-woven textiles are iconic around the world. Guajira is a reminder that Colombia isn't just rainforest and mountains. It's a mosaic of climates and cultures few countries can match. 42. San Andrés, a coral island closer to Nicaragua than Colombia. San Andrés and the neighboring islands of Providencia and Santa Catalina sit more than 435 miles from mainland Colombia, but only about 87 miles from Nicaragua. Their placement has made them a geographical curiosity and the center of multiple international disputes. Today, these islands form part of the Seaflower Biosphere Reserve, a UNESCO-protected marine paradise. Visitors describe the sea here as 7 different colors, shifting between light green and deep blue depending on depth and sunlight. 41. The world's highest palm trees. In the Cocora Valley near Salento, wax palms stretch up to 60 meters, 200 feet, into the sky, the tallest palm species on Earth. From a distance, the valley looks like a green bowl studded with enormous toothpicks. These palms grow only in the high Andean cloud forests, forming a fragile ecosystem that shelters rare species like the yellow-eared parrot. Hikers walk through mist, waterfalls, and farms before emerging into wide-open fields where the giant palms hover like skyscrapers. 40. A capital that touches the clouds but sits on a plateau. Bogota's altitude is dramatic, but what many people don't realize is that it sits on a flat highland known as the Bogota Savanna. This plateau was once an ancient lake bed. Evidence of early settlement shows humans living here thousands of years before Spanish arrival. Today, the savanna stretches outward with farms, towns, and wetlands, forming one of the most unique metropolitan environments in Latin America. A modern city built across an ancient lake in the sky. 39. One river, two oceans. The Atrato River flows north through dense jungle before emptying into the Caribbean Sea. While only a few hundred kilometers away, rivers like the San Juan pour into the Pacific. Nowhere else in South America do two dramatically different coastlines sit so close together. This narrow separation allowed indigenous communities to build networks that spanned both oceans long before European arrival. Today, it remains a key corridor of biodiversity and cultural connections. 38. Cartagena's Islands, a marine maze of 1,000 fragments. Just off Cartagena's coast lies the Rosario and San Bernardo archipelagos, a complex marine park made up of coral keys, mangroves, sandbars, and reef systems. Locals call the region a living aquarium. Underwater, divers find shipwrecks, volcanic rock, sea turtles, and swirls of tropical fish. Above water, islands vary wildly, some luxurious and modern, others tiny fishing villages. The islands are so scattered they look like glitter thrown across the sea. 37. A river that flows to the center of the continent. The Putumayo River traces Colombia's southern border and eventually joins the Amazon basin, linking to Brazil, Peru, and Ecuador. Its waters act like a natural highway, transporting goods, culture, and biodiversity across 4 nations. Villages along the river share languages, music, and traditions regardless of political boundaries. The Putumayo shows how Colombia is not just a Caribbean country, it's also deeply Amazonian. 36. A capital of salsa on a tropical plain. Cali sits on a wide stretch of fertile valley known as the Cauca River Basin. The flat terrain and tropical heat create the perfect backdrop for outdoor life, plazas, dance clubs, open-air markets, and street festivals that pulse with salsa music. Geography helps define Cali's culture. Warm nights, lush sugarcane fields, and mountains enclosing the valley like a giant amphitheater. Unlike cities in the high Andes, Cali feels tropical and rhythmic year-round. 35. Volcanoes that reach above the clouds. Colombia has more than 25 active or potentially active volcanoes, forming part of the Pacific Ring of Fire. Nevado del Huila is the country's tallest at 5,364 meters, 17,598 feet, towering above valleys blanketed in dense cloud forest. These volcanoes store glacial ice that feeds countless rivers and lakes, yet warming temperatures threaten to melt them within decades. Colombia's volcanic chain isn't just destructive, it's a vital water source. 34. A canyon, nearly twice as deep as the Grand Canyon. The Chicamocha Canyon in Santander plunges more than 2,000 meters, 6,600 feet, making it almost twice as deep as Arizona's Grand Canyon. The landscape is rugged, dry, and carved by serpentine roads that cling to cliff sides. From above, the canyon opens like an enormous scar in the earth. A cable car stretches across a vast section of it, giving travelers one of the most thrilling aerial views in the country. 33. Tatacoa Desert, but technically not a desert. Despite its name, the Tatacoa Desert is actually a tropical dry forest. Rain is scarce, but fossil beds beneath the surface reveal that millions of years ago, this region was a lush woodland filled with prehistoric creatures. Today, its red and gray labyrinths of rock look like something from Mars. At night, Tatacoa becomes one of South America's best stargazing locations thanks to minimal light pollution and open skies. 32. A lake in the sky filled with myth and gold. Lake Iguatavita is a near-perfect circular lagoon perched more than 3,000 meters above sea level. According to legend, Muisca chiefs were once covered in gold dust and bathed in the lake as part of spiritual rituals, inspiring the story of El Dorado. The lake's bright green water and steep crater walls make it look like an emerald set into the mountains. Treasure hunters attempted to drain it multiple times, unsuccessfully, leaving behind scars still visible today. 31. A city built in a basin on ancient volcanoes. Pasto sits in a high basin surrounded by volcanic peaks, including Galeras, which looms over the city like a stone guardian. Its fertile soil supports crops ranging from potatoes to tropical fruits, despite the altitude. The city's geography also influences its famous Carnival of Blacks and Whites, a celebration that blends volcanic symbolism, Andean myth, and pre-Columbian heritage. Geography doesn't just surround Pasto, it defines its identity. 30. A river where pink dolphins swim. In the Amazonian department of Guinea, the Inirida River is home to a creature that feels almost mythical, the Amazon River dolphin, also known as the pink dolphin. Unlike ocean dolphins, these freshwater giants have flexible necks, long snouts, and are famous for their rosy coloring, which gets brighter with age. The river forms part of the Estrella Fluvial de Inirida, where 3 major waterways converge into a massive wetland system. The dolphins glide through the dark waters alongside manatees, electric fish, and enormous catfish, creating a surreal sense of untouched wilderness. The region remains remote and sparsely populated, making encounters with pink dolphins feel like stepping into a hidden chapter of the natural world. 29. Bogota has more bike lanes than almost any city in the world. The Colombian capital boasts over 370 miles of bike lanes, ranking among the world's largest cycling networks. Each Sunday and holiday, the city shuts down more than 120 kilometers of roads for Ciclovia, a massive event where millions of people walk, bike, skate, dance, and exercise. The scale is astonishing, an entire metropolis moving under its own power. Geography plays a role here. The city's plateau terrain makes long-distance cycling easier, allowing bikes to become not just recreation, but a cornerstone of urban transportation. 28. The Magdalena River, Colombia's artery of life. Stretching more than 930 miles, the Magdalena River runs from the Andes to the Caribbean Sea, shaping Colombian history, culture, trade, and identity for centuries. Towns along its banks developed into agricultural powerhouses, while the river carried goods, gold, people, and stories throughout the country. It was once so crucial to travel that Colombians called it the country's spinal cord. Today, its waters flow past wide plains, dense wetlands, and fishing villages, hosting manatees and nearly 200 fish species. The Magdalena is more than a river, it's a living timeline of Colombia itself. 27. A national park twice the size of Yellowstone. Chiribiquete National Park spans over 16,600 square miles, making it Colombia's largest protected area and one of the biggest rainforests on Earth. The park is home to giant sandstone plateaus that resemble natural fortresses rising above dense jungle canopy. Dozens of them are covered with more than 70,000 ancient rock paintings, figures of humans, animals, and spiritual symbols. Chiribiquete is so ecologically sensitive that most areas remain off limits to visitors. Even satellite imagery struggles to show everything hidden beneath its cloud cover. 26. Cali's Valley creates its own wind system. Cali sits between two Andean mountain ranges, and this geographical layout causes a daily wind phenomenon. Cool air from the Pacific Ocean funnels through a gap known as the Anchicaya Corridor, sweeping across the valley each evening. Locals call it La Ventolera, and often describe it as the city's natural air conditioning. The cooling wind shapes temperature, agriculture, and even local architecture. Outdoor nightlife thrives under the breeze, and crops in the region, sugarcane in particular, grow strong thanks to the valley's microclimate. 25. A coffee region born from three mountain ranges. Colombia's famous coffee axis, home to Manizales, Pereira, and Armenia, sits where three branches of the Andes converge into dramatic hills and deep ravines. This unique geography gives the region ideal coffee growing conditions: volcanic soil, constant mist, and sharp elevation changes. Coffee plantations cling to steep slopes like green staircases, and farmers still harvest beans by hand because machines can't handle the terrain. The result is not just better flavor, more acidity, sweetness, and aromatics, but a cultural identity built around geography. 24. A salt cathedral inside a mountain. In the town of Zipaquira, miners carved a massive cathedral inside a salt mountain, nearly 660 feet underground. The structure includes vaulted chambers, monumental crosses, and illuminated walkways carved into ancient salt deposits. It sits inside one of the world's oldest salt mines, formed from the evaporated remains of a prehistoric sea. The underground cathedral becomes even more impressive when you remember that everything you see, pillars, ceilings, entire walls, is technically made of salt. 23. The Pacific Coast. With the world's highest rainfall, Colombia's Chaco region receives up to 512 inches of rain every year, ranking among the wettest places on the planet. Rainfall is so intense here that the coastline is wrapped in permanent emerald vegetation. Black sand beaches, cloud forests, mangroves, and waterfalls all collapse into each other, blurring the line between land and sea. Between June and November, humpback whales migrate from the Antarctic to give birth in these warm Pacific waters, another geographical miracle made possible by Colombia's coastal currents. 22. A castle built to defend a treasure port. Cartagena's Castillo San Felipe de Barajas is one of the most complex forts ever built by the Spanish Empire. Perched on a hill with a commanding view of the Caribbean coast, the fortress was designed specifically to resist invasion by sea. The geography of the surrounding bay made Cartagena one of the most important ports for gold exports to Europe. Engineers constructed zigzag tunnels inside the walls to amplify sound, allowing soldiers to detect incoming enemies before they were visible. The fort's layout is a direct response to the geography of a valuable harbor that pirates and rival empires desperately wanted. 21. The tallest waterfall in Colombia. At 1,935 feet, La Carrera waterfall near Bogota plunges down a sequence of cliffs in the East Andean Mountains, making it the highest waterfall in the country. Mist clouds burst from every ledge, feeding moss-covered rock and ferns that shimmer in the mountain chill. The hike to reach the falls winds through cloud forests filled with hummingbirds and butterflies until the waterfall emerges as a silver thread hanging from the sky. Very few travelers outside of Colombia have ever heard of it, yet it rivals some of South America's most famous natural wonders. 20. The Amazon basin covers a third of Colombia. Colombia's Amazon region makes up nearly 1/3 of the country, even though it's home to less than 5% of the population. The rainforest here is so dense that entire communities rely on river networks for travel, food, and communication. Jaguars, tapirs, macaws, monkeys, and thousands of insect species live beneath a towering canopy that locks away ancient oxygen reserves. Because of its size and isolation, the Colombian Amazon remains one of the most biodiverse and least explored regions on Earth. 19. A ghostly forest rising from the water. In the Magdalena River Basin lies Ciénaga de Paredes, an enormous wetland system where the trunks of dead trees stand half submerged in still water. The scenery is eerie, rows of skeletal branches poking upward like fingers. Beneath the surface live caimans, turtles, and countless fish species that support local fishing towns. During sunrise, fog rolls across the lagoon and transforms the landscape into a dreamlike mirror. The wetland's unusual geography helps filter water, regulate floods, and store carbon, an essential system hiding in plain sight. 18. A Caribbean archipelago with a barrier reef. The islands of San Andres and Providencia host the third largest barrier reef in the world. Spanning over 186 miles, the reef protects beaches from strong waves, allowing seagrass and mangrove ecosystems to develop. Coral gardens hide nurse sharks and eagle rays, while shallow sandbars glow in shades of turquoise that change by the hour. The reef is vital not only ecologically but culturally. The indigenous Rizal community has fished these waters sustainably for centuries, guided by geography and tradition. 17. One of the largest Paramo regions on Earth. Colombia's Paramo ecosystems, cold, misty grasslands found above the tree line and below permanent snow, cover about half of the total Paramo land on the planet. These high mountain plains act like giant sponges, retaining water and releasing it slowly into rivers and aquifers below. Cities like Bogota depend on Paramo water for survival. Unique plants such as frailejones grow only here. With thick leaves and fuzzy surfaces, they capture moisture directly from the clouds. Without Colombia's Paramos, millions would go thirsty. 16. An underground river of crystal formations. Near the city of Bucaramanga lies the Cueva de Nitro, part of a vast cave network filled with underground rivers, stalactites, and sparkling mineral formations. Explorers must crawl, swim, and scramble through narrow passages as water rushes through the limestone chambers. Torrents have carved the rocks for millions of years, creating cathedral-like caverns beneath the Earth's surface. 15. A bridge that crosses a canyon to connect a shrine. Las Lajas Sanctuary in Nariño seems like something from a fairy tale, a Gothic-style basilica built directly over a gorge. The church sits suspended above the Guaidara River, connected by a stone bridge that soars between canyon walls. The setting is so dramatic that many visitors believe the geography itself feels holy. Mist swirls through the ravine and echoes bounce off the stone. It's one of Colombia's most photographed landmarks, not for its architecture alone, but for the way it blends with raw cliffs and roaring water. 14. The Orinoco River marks a border of biomes. In eastern Colombia, the Orinoco River works like a natural dividing line between two giant ecosystems, the Amazon rainforest to the south and the Llanos grasslands to the north. The result is an ecological collision zone where wildlife thrives. Capybaras, giant barrel-shaped rodents, graze along the riverbanks, while anacondas lurk beneath the marshes and scarlet ibises flash across the sky. Geography draws a straight line here, separating two of South America's greatest habitats. 13. Colombia has glaciers near the equator. It may sound impossible, but Colombia hosts glacial snowcaps almost exactly on the equator. Peaks like El Cocuy, Ruiz, and Santa Isabel are covered in permanent ice, though shrinking quickly due to rising temperatures. These glaciers store ancient snow that predates human history. Hikers in Los Nevados National Park feel as though they're climbing to the roof of the world, yet in reality, they are only a few hours from tropical valleys and coffee fields below. 12. The Llanos flood and dry out like breathing land. Colombia's eastern plains, the Llanos, flood with seasonal rains, transforming dry savannas into endless wetlands. When the water recedes, grasses sprout into golden plains. This giant pulsing system supports jaguars, caimans, pumas, anteaters, and massive flocks of migratory birds. Cowboys known as llaneros ride across the wetlands on horseback, guiding cattle through fields that turn into lakes every rainy season. Geography and culture blend here like nowhere else in Colombia. 11. The Caribbean coast hides a massive coral wall. Off the coast of Córdoba and Sucre lies the underwater Barú and San Bernardo Coral Ridge, stretching for dozens of kilometers. The formation acts like a protective wall that breaks waves before they hit shore, creating calm, shallow coastal lagoons. These waters are nurseries for countless marine species, including snapper, barracuda, and sea turtles. The geography of the reef is so complex that scientists are still mapping it. It forms another chapter in Colombia's identity as a country shaped as much by the sea as by the land. Before moving on to the top 10, remember to join the geography family by subscribing to the channel and leaving your like. 10. A strait that links two oceans through jungle rivers. At Colombia's narrowest point between the Caribbean and Pacific, only 65 kilometers, 40 miles, separate the two oceans. Here, the Darien region forms a rugged natural barrier of mangrove swamps, rivers, and steep hills. Before modern borders, local communities moved fluidly between coastlines, using rivers as water highways. Today, this strip of land marks one of the most dramatic geographical contrasts on Earth. Tropical beaches to the west, west, coral waters to the east, and rainforest walls rising in between. 9. A lake that turns completely pink. Totumo Lake near Galera Zamba is famous for turning a brilliant pink during certain months, thanks to high salinity and microscopic algae that flourish under intense sunlight. The effect is stunning, like a rose-colored mirror reflecting the sky. The landscape surrounding the lagoon is dry and salty, a rare contrast to the lush green fields that lie just a short drive away along the Caribbean coast. 8. The birthplace of the Andes jungle cliff cities. San Agustin Archaeological Park sits in a rugged mountain region where the Magdalena River begins. The geography here isolated ancient cultures, allowing unique artistic traditions to emerge. Massive stone statues, warriors, jaguars, bird gods were carved directly from volcanic rock and placed along hillsides overlooking canyons and river valleys. The surrounding mountains protect the site like a natural fortress, preserving a legacy that predates written history in the Americas. 7. The world's tallest tropical palm groves. Near Bogota, Chingaza National Park hosts some of the planet's tallest tropical cloud forest ecosystems. Mist rises from deep valleys, feeding moss-laden trees and bright green undergrowth. The park acts as a giant water factory for the capital. Hidden reservoirs and mountain streams supply most of the city's drinking water. What looks like untouched wilderness is actually the beating heart of a modern metropolis. 6. A mountain that became a natural observatory. Montserrat, towering over Bogota at more than 10,300 feet, gives an uninterrupted view of the city's enormous plateau. From the summit, visitors see the savanna stretching outward in every direction, dense urban neighborhoods to the west, lush green foothills to the east. The mountain's location reveals Bogota's true scale, less a city, more a vast metropolis suspended high above sea level. 5. The Caquetá Rapids carve a giant stone fortress. The Araraquara Canyon, deep in the Amazonian department of Caquetá, is where rapids slice through a massive wall of ancient rock. The churning river funnels between cliffs that rise abruptly from dense jungle. Local legends say the canyon's roar can be heard miles away. The region is nearly unreachable without river transport or small aircraft, making it one of Colombia's most remote and dramatic geological wonders. 4. An island with the only old-growth dry forest in the Caribbean. Providencia, northeast of San Andres, protects one of the last old-growth dry forests in the entire Caribbean region. The island's volcanic origins rise steeply from the sea, collecting rainwater that nourishes mangroves and hidden lagoons. Offshore, rocky outcrops form natural pools where reef fish glide over lava stone. Geography turned this tiny island into a rare ecological treasure. 3. A waterfall that looks like a staircase made of stone. In the Putumayo department, Fin del Mundo waterfall tumbles down tiered rock ledges into emerald pools framed by jungle walls. The view from above reveals a dramatic cliff edge overlooking endless rainforest canopy. What makes the area special isn't just the waterfall, but its steep plateau setting. Visitors hike through warm lowland forest before suddenly arriving at a high cliff with water pouring into a green abyss. 2. The only South American country with coastlines on 2 oceans. Colombia is the sole nation in South America with beaches on both the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean. This dual coastline stretches nearly 3,000 kilometers, 1,864 miles, shaping everything from climate to culture. On one coast, white sand and coral reefs sparkle beneath calm turquoise water. On the other, dark sands and crashing waves line dense rainforest. This geographical split defines Colombia's identity more than any map could show. 1. The world's tallest tropical mountain system. The Andes in Colombia rise higher and steeper within tropical latitudes than anywhere else on Earth. Here, snow-capped peaks touch the sky just hours from banana plantations, coral reefs, and humid jungles. In one day, you can descend from a glacier to a rainforest alive with monkeys and macaws. No other country offers that kind of vertical geography. Colombia's mountains don't just dominate the landscape, they shape climate, culture, biodiversity, language, and history. They are the backbone of a country where nature builds at impossible scale. After learning these 50 facts about Colombia, tell us, which one did you like best, or which one surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Let's see how many of us chose the same fact. And if you think we've forgotten something, or want to add your own interesting tidbit, we'd love to hear it. Your feedback helps us improve each video. Also, if you noticed any pronunciation mistakes, thank you for your patience. We strive to improve with every video. And speaking of videos, videos, there's another one playing right now, so you can continue exploring the geography of our beautiful world. But before you go, don't forget to subscribe and like, so we can keep learning together. See you in the next one.